And being a little late. All right.
All right, you ready? What's up, Blueprint family? Thank you all for joining us tonight. How y'all doing out there?
Yep.
We
We're
have a
good.
great topic again for you all tonight. No question tonight, but we're talking about dating anxiety and basically how to cope with it, how to deal with it, how to get over it.
Yep. Yeah. Sorry. We are running a little bit late. Had some slight technical difficulties, but we back in it. It's good to have everybody come out again. Once again, thank you so much. As always, my husband always reminds us that this is a live show and we really do enjoy your interactions. And in fact, we ourselves are learning new ways to get better at getting you all comfortable with engaging with us because ultimately this is a new experience for us too. So as we go in, it's a as we go into our topics, it's super important that we also learn how to be great interactors with you all so you all are more comfortable interacting with us because that's ultimately what we want. So, yes, and we do have a request to join live. We're going to start that very, very soon. But first, let's go ahead and head into this topic. You think?
Yeah. But first, I would like to say thank you all for, especially the Instagram viewers, for getting us over 4,000 viewers, subscribers today. We really
Yeah.
appreciate that. It seems like every day we get about 1,000 subscribers, so we
Yeah.
really appreciate that movement that we're
Right.
getting from you all, and you all letting us know that you enjoy the content that we're putting out there. As far as our mission to reduce divorce and then increase marriage um, for our community
Mm-hmm.
and our nation. So with that being said, also too, it's Independence Day.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Yep.
happy 4th of July to everyone who's viewing and everyone out there. And then also, please, if you can, please like and subscribe our videos on YouTube as well, and vice versa on Instagram. So let's go ahead and
Yes.
dig right on in.
Right. So, all right, dating anxiety. So, picture this: it's your first date. You're preparing for your first date, right? So you've been talking to this guy or girl for a couple of weeks, and you're really excited about meeting them in person. But as the day gets closer, you find yourself getting more and more anxious about the whole experiences. So now you're just worried about what they'll think of you. You're worried about rejection. You're afraid of being rejected. You start maybe having physical symptoms of anxiety like sweating, trembling, your heart pounding, racing fast. You can't focus on anything else. You're like constantly checking your phone, trying to see if this guy or girl texts you to make sure that your date is still going on. And then when you finally meet that person, you're super nervous. You don't know what to say. You can barely talk. You keep making mistakes. Maybe you're worried about, them judging you or how you look. What do you say? And then you get to the end of the day and you're relieved the date is over, but you find yourself so disappointed that you did not enjoy your date. Why? Dating anxiety. That is a common scenario, how it kind of looks.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that is an example of it. And
Yeah.
one video that I did see on the internet was this online speed dating thing, and this guy was basically so nervous. He was red in the face, and he was talking to this beautiful young girl, and then she knew that he was nervous. You could obviously see it, and then he just basically let her know his habits of weightlifting, and he started flexing for her, and then told a joke, and then he said, "Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm nervous."
Yeah.
And then that response really humbled her
Yeah.
to let her know that, oh, you're not a jerk, you're just very nervous.
Yeah.
And then that really softened the situation afterwards.
Yes.
So I mean, this is a very common thing, especially
Yeah.
for young guys and young girls that are out there, and you all are basically very inexperienced as far as dating is going.
Yeah.
um or either you just may be getting back into the dating game and trying to figure this whole new thing out and how people are dating now today,
Yeah.
which may be giving you anxiety as well.
Yeah.
So
Everyone experiences it different, but it's a common theme, like you were saying, that you're just simply overwhelmed and it's making it very hard for you to date in general or even engage in the whole act. Like it's just not, you're not really having the best time that you should. Let us know in the comments what y'all think. Are we kind of giving y'all some of the feelings that you may be feeling as you're going through this? Let us know if we're hitting on it right. If we're not, let us know what you experience when you are having some dating anxiety. But either way, we understand modern dating has caused a lot of anxiety in general when it comes to relationships. That's kind of the reason why we started this, to just really help bring some relief to that anxiety, as some people who have, we understand it, we've gone through it, and we're on the other side, and we can give you a different kind of perspective, a more positive perspective to dating and stuff. But there are modern dating guys like online dating. That's kind of a little different than when we were young and getting together. Online dating wasn't as big as it is now. And certainly online dating has made it easier for, when it comes to meeting people, but it's also easier to get catfished. And, that of course can cause dating anxiety.
Yep. And then also the fear of rejection. A lot of men have the fear of rejection. I would say women do too, but
Yeah.
I understood this and recognized this when I was young.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to be rejected.
Yeah.
And it can also be a contributor to anxiety as well.
Right. Yeah, it really, really can. It really can. And it's, I think now more than ever, more pressure to be perfect, whatever that means. So with this whole social media wave, especially our younger generation, they're really seeing how the pressure of just putting their best foot forward and looking the best, and it can be exhausting and certainly anxiety inducing. So we just want to go ahead and work through some things on how, if you are struggling with dating anxiety, these are some things that you can do to help yourself manage it and cope with what's going on. We do want to cover those. It's a key difference between anxiety and normal nervousness, right? So we want to be able to separate this, but it's just important that you understand sometimes it could just be simple nervousness, and we all get nervous. That is a total normal experience of life in general. But dating anxiety is typically more intense than normal nervousness. You're more likely to see physical symptoms such as like sweating, trembling, heart racing, those things that we talked about in general. And also it can lead to a lot of negative thoughts, like my husband was saying, being rejected, feeling embarrassed, judged, all of that. So it's a little slightly different than nervousness.
Yep. And then also too, it lasts longer than normal nervousness. So it can be it can start before the date, continue during the date, and then afterwards as well.
Yeah.
So normal nervousness, on the other hand, is usually short-lived and only occurs in the moment.
Right. And it usually goes away as soon as you started engaging in the act. So like you'd be maybe a little nervous before the guy or girl walks up, but then once your date has started, it eases away. Usually that's normal nervousness though. But dating anxiety, of course, is more likely to happen if you have a history of social anxiety or regular anxiety in general, which is actually pretty common in today's age, as we like to.
That's human.
Yeah,
that's a human thing, to be honest with you. So pretty
Right.
much everyone goes through this.
Yeah, something like this. Yeah, for sure. So though in particular, dating anxiety can also be triggered by like simple meeting someone new in general. So maybe at work or starting a new job, any little thing like that. But normal nervousness usually is not associated with like any mental health disease or mental health condition, or anything like that, or maybe even regardless of like past experience. Usually nervousness isn't really attached to that. It's just normal.
Yep. And it is important to remember that dating anxiety is common, like we said before.
Yeah.
First thing that everyone who has experienced dating anxiety can do to manage it is first understand the root cause of your anxiety. Understanding why you're feeling anxious in the first place is needed for the first step.
Yeah.
So here's some coping strategies.
Yeah. Well, in general, just knowing what your root cause is important for developing coping strategies. Because if you don't know why you even have this dating anxiety, then you're not even on the right track to even figuring out what you're trying to solve anyway. So here are some questions. Grab your pen and paper. This is important. Here are some questions that you can ask yourself to help you identify the root cause of your dating anxiety. Remember, this is super important, so we're not bullshitting here. Grab some paper and answer these questions for yourself later on. That's super important. And also it's going to help you with some of the other tips that we go through later on. So first, what are the specific situations that make you feel anxious? Think about the specific situations. Try to sit back and really, Think about them. What makes you anxious? And then number 2, what thoughts and beliefs am I having when I feel anxious? This is important. Really try to think about a time where you were anxious and what thoughts or beliefs were attached to that. We're going to get into this a little bit later.
What happened in my past that may be contributing to my anxiety?
Yes.
And then also, next, what are my coping strategies for dealing with my anxiety?
Mm-hmm.
And then, what are my goals for managing my dating anxiety?
Yeah. And these are some things that we're going to break these down for you as we go on a little further. But please make sure to go back and take the time to answer for yourselves these questions so that even if you have to come back to this video later, you can apply the strategies that we're going to go through to your active life, because it's really all it's personal. So you're going to have to make it tailored to yourself in order for you to really see the benefits of what we're talking about. So again,
And then
go
also
ahead.
honesty. Just be honest with yourself about this in order to get a good result from it.
Yeah, and we strongly encourage journaling in general because it creates a safe space right here, right now, where you're at for yourself with nobody around, just you, your pen, and your paper, of where you can genuinely let your thoughts and your feelings out. So again, what are the specific situations that make me feel anxious? What thoughts, beliefs am I having when I feel anxious? What happened in my past that might be contributing to my anxiety? What are my coping strategies for dealing with my anxiety? And what are my goals for managing my anxiety? Those are the top questions we really need you to think about. Because as we go into it, I first think it's great for us to just point out some general factors that really will contribute to dating anxiety. So these are some things that will help you narrow down these, root causes, right? And they are a wide variety. So as we go through them, try to think for yourself where this dating anxiety could possibly be coming from.
Yeah. And then past relationship traumas, of
Yeah.
course. If you've had a negative experience in a past relationship, such as being cheated on or abused, you
Yeah.
may be more likely to experience dating anxiety.
Yeah.
This could be because you may be subconsciously expecting the same thing to happen again.
Yeah.
You really have to get help with this before moving into a new relationship. Is going to cause that type of anxiety, is going to cause a lot of barriers and walls being put up for and that may prevent you to come into a new relationship. So it's best to have this taken care of before you even start going back dating.
Yeah.
That's just honest, to be honest with you, because it's going to be very hard for you to try to build a relationship and communicate properly with someone if you're always expecting them to be abusive or leave or whatever the case may be, just the same as your previous relationship. And also too, it's not fair to the person who's actually looking for love and may want to find you to court or invite them into their lives. So you have to be really made whole again before you can go out and start dating.
Yeah, that's a big one, number 2, of course, low self-esteem or self-worth. If you don't feel good about yourself, you are more than likely going to worry about how someone else also feels about you and how people think about you. This will lead to dating anxiety. So they'll turn into feelings of you being afraid of being rejected or, judged or, whatever. All of that is super important. So maybe low self-esteem or self-worth. We're going to go over some of this, how to fix these later on. But right now, we're just going to look at the root causes again so that you can try to narrow them down so that you can really then process how you can work through them.
Yep. And then also too, shyness or introversion. So we all probably know somebody who's shy or either an introvert. So if you're shy or introverted, you may be more likely to experience anxiety in social situations. So this includes dating, as you may be afraid of putting yourself out there and meeting new people, of course.
Yes. Yep. And that's okay. Again, these aren't times to beat up on yourself or judge or anything. You're just bringing in awareness so that then you can actually work through it. Next one is anxious or avoidant avoidant attachment style. So, when you're talking about your attachment style, this is how you closely relate to other people. So, for example, if you have an anxious attachment style, you may be more likely to worry that your spouse may leave you or, is not interested in you or something of that nature. And this can make you have some anxiety about dating. You can even be kind of in a way constantly seeking reassurance from your spouse or your potential dating partner because of this type of anxious avoidant attachment or something of that nature. So certainly to look and see if this is something that you may be struggling with.
Or also too, you may be experiencing social anxiety disorder or
Yeah.
SAD. SAD is a type of anxiety disorder that specifically affects social situations.
Yeah.
If you've had SAD,
Mm-hmm.
you may experience intense fear and anxiety in social situations such as dating,
Yep.
of
Yep.
course.
Yep. Fear of rejection, embarrassment, judgment. We've kind of gone on that before, but this is often commonly rooted to like childhood traumas or something of that nature, especially if you went through something that caused you embarrassment when you were younger, and then you kind of held on to that or whatever, and you're fearful of that taking place again. But in general, just a fear of rejection is super common for dating. Everybody has that type of fear, so it's just important though not to let it overwhelm you. So in the sense of this will be a separation between simple nervousness and full-on dating anxiety. If you are just constantly worried that the person you are talking to is going to judge you over your appearance or what you say or your personality or anything like that, that you may be possibly worried about rejection to the extreme of dating anxiety.
Yep. And then also too, concerns about personal safety.
Yeah.
So if you've had negative experiences in the past, such as being assaulted or harassed, you may be very worried about your personal safety when dating.
Mm-hmm.
This can lead to anxiety about dating, as you may be afraid of being put in a dangerous situation.
Yeah. And I often like to point out, when you have been involved in something something that's maybe violent related or something like that, like guy or girl, that's important to remember, because these things can happen to men as well, especially within this Me Too movement. So some guys may have dating anxiety when it comes to just in general being having some woman come out and say something happened when it didn't happen. So it's common both for men and women. So it's just super important that if you are dealing with something related to this issue, you really do want to consider bringing in someone to help you go through this, because chances are it's a little harder to tackle on something like having been, harassed or assaulted or something in the past on your own. So just a simple disclosure there.
And then chronic health conditions. So if you have a chronic health condition, you may be more likely to experience anxiety.
Yeah.
This is because you may worry about how your condition will affect your dating life.
Mm-hmm.
So you may also be afraid of being rejected because of this as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, and that's important, HEPA, of course. But if you do know that you have a health condition, you could really be a little nervous inside subconsciously about whether or not you will be accepted, or if this is something that a person may not want to get involved with because of this issue. But it's important not to judge a situation or put in or project in a way a negative outcome when it might not always take place. So again, that's worry, fear. Avoid letting those just cloud your judgment.
And then abandonment issues. So if you've had a parent or caregiver who abandoned you when you were a child, you may be more likely to experience anxiety about dating. This is
Yeah.
because you may be afraid of being abandoned again. And you may be constantly looking for signs that the other person is going to leave you.
Yeah, I think now in our society, more than ever, with the rise of single parent households, it's common to see of some type of abandonment issue causing a person not to want to engage or be vulnerable or put themselves out there again, because it hurts when you don't have someone around, or if somebody leaves you or something like that. So again, that's one of those things where it's just super important. That's why we're going over these root causes. This isn't always the funnest part of conversations like this, but it's important to have these conversations so that you're able to identify, hey, maybe I do have some type of root causes really the reason why I'm out here saying I'm never going to date again or whatever the case is, so really just try to think what could be causing what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Last one.
A dating inexperience. So if you're not used to dating, or you don't date often, or you haven't done it before, you may be more likely to experience anxiety about it. This will be because this is, you may not know what to expect. So we fear the unknown, especially during dates. So you may be afraid to make a mistake also as well. So just understand that people who experience that, you only get better with time, and then also to dating more often. So, and then also to building confidence as well. So that's a big thing, dealing with inexperience as far as dating. And anxiety.
That's true. So those are 10. I think that was about 10 root causes. Again, I'm pretty sure we probably hit on the big major ones, but there may be other smaller ones. This is where working with a coach or a therapist would be helpful, because if you are having trouble going back and actually saying, hey, yeah, I think it's one of these reasons as the root cause, then you probably need to bring someone in to really help you figure this out. Because in order for you to really move forward with developing coping strategies for dating anxiety, you have to know the root cause. So, for example, once you've answered the questions that we talked about in the beginning, so those 5 questions that we said, write them down and go through them. Once you've answered them, you can, for one, identify the thoughts that are linked to your anxiety. Then you can begin to change your thinking patterns. We always talk about thoughts, because your inner reality creates your outer reality. That is science. It's just, at this point, we all pretty much know that, right? So this is why it's super important that you can link those thoughts to whatever is happening in this anxiety situation, so that you can actively change it. For example, if you, I had came out a little example. So if you're anxious about being rejected, you may be saying things like, I'm not good enough, or, no one would ever like me, or these dates will never work out, whatever the negative pattern that you have adopted. You really have to focus on challenging those negative thoughts with things that will help you feel more confident and less anxious. So you can tell yourself, I am worthy of love and respect. I have a lot to offer a partner, my spouse. I am learning and growing every day. You can say things like, I'm confident in myself. I'm confident in my abilities. These affirmations are so important that you're giving yourself, especially if you didn't have it growing up. We can't downplay how our parents really did put our thoughts in our heads as a child. These repetitive thoughts, often, sometimes, if you didn't have a parent putting good repetitive thoughts in your head, you naturally adopted some negative thinking patterns that really didn't even come from you. So if you know that this is something that's taking place within your mind, you have to be able to identify it, so then you can go back and change it with something else. Like, I'm excited to meeting new people. I'm open to these new experiences. I'm excited to see what the future holds. All of that's super important. It's also important to remember that, everyone has negative thoughts from time to time. In particular, the key is to not dwell on these thoughts. I kind of like the analogy of your mind is the sky, and your thoughts are the clouds that pass by. You are the sky. You are not the thoughts, which are the clouds, are passing by. Instead, you can learn not to identify with them and simply observe them. And that's really what we're trying to get you to do here. Because once you're able to step back as not the one that's identifying with the thoughts, these are my thoughts, you're more able to observe them. And then that's when you are in a better position to actually challenge them for yourself. So our common way of always talking about challenging your thoughts would be asking yourself, is this thought really true? Do I have any evidence to support this thought? And of course, what are some other positive ways that I could think about this situation? Sometimes it may require you thinking, that's where the common thought, what would Jesus do, or something like that. Like, you would think instead from the perspective of, what would my best friend say, or what would my confident mother or friend or whatever say, kind of thinking it from a different perspective if you yourself are having a hard time, challenging those thoughts.
Yep. And it can also help to write these down. So your positive thoughts, and read them over when you're feeling anxious. This will help you to stay focused on the positive and remind yourself of your worth. Take a deep breath and say those positive affirmations to yourself.
Yeah.
So that you can replace those negative thoughts.
Yeah, and a common thing that people always ask, well, how long is this going to take for me to do this? How many times I got to keep doing this? Every time I think of a thought, like, it don't work. Of course, when you've built up a habit of thought, it's going to take time. Habit is habit. Habit is habit, and it's not easily to be coaxed downstairs. So you have to coax it down a stair one at a time. So if you think of a stairway of all your thoughts, you're taking it step by step by step of bringing it down. And actually, it's really going to depend on a variety of situations and, in general, the severity of the negative thought on how long it's going to take for you to get over it. So, for example, just some simple common factors. Things could take from a few weeks to a few months of you actively sitting here and saying, hey, this is a negative thought and I'm going to switch it and challenge it and change it to do something else. So, for example, the frequency of that thought, if this thought is taking place every day, all day, if it's something that's continuous that you've had for years, it's going to take you a little longer when it comes to challenging it and constantly having to tell yourself a different way of thinking it, especially if, compared to something that you've only thought, occasionally or something like that. The strength. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And then the strength of the negative thought. So if the negative thought is very strong and believable, it will likely take longer, of course, to challenge this.
Yeah.
And challenge it and to make it less believable for you.
Yeah. Yep, certainly. And of course, your willingness to challenge that negative thought is going to all have a lot to do with it, because if you aren't willing to actually challenge this thought, if you aren't willing to write down the things that we're telling you to do and sit down and actually do the work that it's going to take for you to develop alternative perspectives of life, then it's certainly going to take longer for you to change that habit of thought than if you actively just go ahead and do the work. So we're all about doing the work. So make sure that you're actively saying, hey, I know that I have this issue and I'm willing to put forth the work that needs to be done.
Well, but then also too, character building can help with dating anxiety in a number of ways. So just understand that to me, it's very important to build that confidence, especially for and I speak in the male perspective. So it can help you to develop a stronger sense of self-worth. So this is mainly for like a lot of younger guys who are not like more so career driven. Or have major accomplishments in life. So when you have a strong sense of self-worth, you are less likely to be anxious about what others think of you. So you are more likely to believe that you are worthy of love and respect, and this can help to reduce your anxiety about dating. So it can help you to become more confident in your ability to connect with others. So when you have a strong character, you are more likely to be able to connect with others on a genuine level. So this can help you reduce your anxiety about dating, as you will be less worried about saying or doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, that's like that active practice. For example, I think of like for example, as a man, often when I see you like go to work and you had take on leadership roles at working and stuff like that, that actually helped boost confidence. And you do really start to not care about, what somebody else thinks about you, because you yourself have developed confidence within yourself. So I think you're right. That is really good when it comes to, in particular, men and women, but men more so too.
Because, because women find that confidence attractive. Not to be overbearing or too alpha male-ish, of course, but you want a man who can assert himself to be someone who finds himself to be a leader and a decision maker. That's a part of being the provider, well, the protector, and the role of a husband. So, with that being said, here are some specific ways to build your character and reduce dating anxiety. So set goals for yourself and work towards achieving them. See, normally a career driven person, or either someone who's working daily is familiar with goals and also to achieving goals. So this will help you to feel a sense of accomplishment and boost your self-confidence. So if you're not experienced in dating, you are experienced in the life, your job, what you do, your career. So you can also correlate these accomplishments with your character, and then also to use that to help boost your self-esteem and understand your self-worth to help you defeat dating anxiety. So
Mm-hmm.
learn new skills and challenge yourself. So this will help you to also expand your horizon and become more confident in your abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Spend time with people who make you feel good about yourself. So this is a good way to help you to build your positive relationships and feel more supported. And you don't feel alone
Yeah.
as far as having anxiety.
Yeah, and certainly, if I may add,
Mhm.
it helps you. All of this is important so that you don't get content. I
Right.
think being content, in particular, for one, not only does it go against you as your survival as a human being. Humans are not meant to be content. So, not even in your job, that when you are content, you are literally letting your defenses and your guard down, which sets you up for all types of things, exposures to your own survival. So, by natural law, you really aren't supposed to be content in general. And in particular, if you have adopted a lot of these habits, especially when for men, it will help propel you along your career and also make you a great provider and give you confidence in that and boost your, like my husband was saying, your sense of worth,
Hmm.
because you'll really, I think men in particular too, some women now with this whole independent woman phase, they do tie a lot of their accomplishments to, like, how well they provide. But a man being so hardwired by biologically to want to provide, y'all really do find self-worth in your achievements through what you accomplish within your career, or even like your hobbies. Like if you get better and better at the things you like to do, your skills, maybe martial arts or something like that, all of that is just naturally going to boost your confidence and make you feel good about putting yourself out there.
Hmm. Yeah, well said. Yeah, but that's the whole idea. That helps relieve anxiety
Yeah.
to me. Is character building, and then also to self-confidence. I think those are the main things that can help you to become more social.
Yes.
Because like you said, with the whole being content, a lot of people who are introverts, they look for contentment, they look
Mm-hmm.
for being routine, and they look for the same repetitive actions during their daily
Yeah.
day lifestyle. So stepping out stepping out and trying to talk to someone new can be very daunting to these people. So
Yeah.
I encourage them to find ways they can take leadership and
Mm-hmm.
in some way or some shape or form in their lives. And then also to set goals, like I said before, and then find ways to achieve
Ooh,
those
excuse
goals.
me.
Do something
Mm-hmm.
new.
Yeah. Yep.
So
So
also
true.
too, take care of your physical and mental health. This
Yeah.
will help you to feel better overall and reduce your anxiety levels. You get enough
Yeah.
sleep,
Yeah. Eat well.
eat well, drink your water, things
Yeah.
like that.
Living foods. We are. I'm not a super big health nut, but super big on what you put on your body and how it really does affect your moods, your energy levels, your brain chemistry, all of that. So if you know you're feeling down and you're not feeling, as good as you would, or if you're feeling anxious and anxiety before a date or even on a date, consider eating something that has energy attached to it. Living, vibrant foods are going to give you that energy that's going to kind of give you a boost versus your processed foods, your heavy foods, your burgers, and your stuff like that. So, ladies, going out on this date, if you know you have natural anxiety, opt for something a little more healthier, like fruit or a salad, or go to like a smoothie bar, something like that. Something where the food that you're intaking is lighter. It's not going to give you this heavier,
It's not gonna make you
meal.
sleepy.
Right. Yeah.
The itis.
Yeah, yeah, and all the other chemicals that go into, we ain't gonna go into no health lesson here, but all of that really does affect your brain chemistry. So I think another way to think too is important. You're just balancing your hormones, men and women. Men, check your testosterone levels. We're big on that, knowing your testosterone levels. Testosterone plays a huge part in your confidence, your
Hmm.
mind, your go-getting mentality, all of that. Like, That's super important. I think now more than ever with the boost of estrogen that is in little stuff, like from the water to, I mean, we can go on to all of this, but the estrogen is out there and that will decrease your testosterone levels. So if you're noticing that you're having lack of motivation or you're not wanting to go out there and, put yourself out there as natural men, hunters and gatherers always naturally do with high testosterone, really consider testing your testosterone levels. And women, of course, figuring out if you may have a slight imbalance within yourself, or that may cause, some type of mental instability. So just hormones and making sure that your body is up to par and where it's supposed to be at will really help overall with your anxiety levels. This, of course, go to professional help as far as like getting testing or something like that done so that you can really know if this is an issue for you, and then you'll be able to objectively, solve it from there.
Right. And then also too, with all of this medical talk that we're doing about, I just wanted to put a disclaimer out there. We are not certified trained physicians
right
in any way. So this is only our advice and our opinions, whether you choose to accept it or use it. So we just want to let you know out there. So another coping strategy is to practice mindfulness. I think we talked about getting rid of negative thoughts. So that is also coupled with mindfulness techniques. So that can help you to focus on the present moment and reduce your anxiety. A lot of times when you're anxious, your mind is racing. You're thinking about 1,000 things instead of what's in front of you. So here are some examples of practicing mindfulness during or before a date in order to reduce dating anxiety.
Yep.
So before the date, you want to take a few moments before the date to center yourself. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths. As I mentioned breathing earlier before, and then focus on your breathing and let go of any thoughts of worries. Of course, I would say this, in the car, when you pull up, you can probably nervous, hands sweating. You want to go ahead and take a breath, breathe, and then tell yourself, I'm here safe, ready here to have a good time and enjoy myself, and then let go of it.
Yeah, I think within our society, especially because of the affirmations that have been perpetuated through different protests and stuff that we've gone through, we have not put as much importance on breathing as it really is. It is the breath of life. And if you actually sit back and think, how many times today have you actually been mindful of taking a deep breath? A legit deep breath, like one where you're just breathing in. And believe it or not, anxiety is commonly linked to shallow breathing. And that's that, you're not really taking those deep belly breathing breaths. You're kind of just going throughout your day. And people sometimes don't even notice that they're just, shallow breathing all day long. Breath is important. That is God flowing through your system is how you let it in. So please take the time. We're not even going to try to say that this isn't important or it's just cliche, but breathing is so super important.
Be present, be clear and present, and focus on, like I said before, what's in front of you. So don't think about the past or the future, just think about the time, be in the moment. Also to visualize yourself having a successful date. That's a great one. So see yourself feeling confident and relaxed.
I am big on that. Big on visualization, mainly in particular because this was something that I always connected to when I had natural births. I was always very nervous about this natural birthing experience. I wanted a home birth. I was a young lady. Nobody in my, minus my grandmother being a midwife, I hadn't had no direct experience of somebody saying like, oh, this is done. But actually with me being able to sit down and visualize that experience, it came true. I had 3 successful home natural births, just simply from what I believe visualizing and seeing myself, seeing the situation, how it would play out, how I wanted it to play out. Thinking on that and putting yourself there is going to make a world of difference in when it's actually taking place. Because then you're just like, okay, I know what I'm going to do next. I'm confident in this. I'm ready to go. And you're a little more relaxed too, because you're preparing for the unexpected in a way, because you're taking the time to think, well, if this may happen, then I'm going to do this instead. So it gives yourself a little more comfort. Visualization is super important. I think that's why God gave us the imagination. It's your tool to be able to create within this reality. So please take the time to visualize yourself having those great things that you want.
And then tell yourself positive affirmations, of course. I think we spoke
Mhm.
on this before. So
Yeah.
repeat to yourself that I am worthy of
Yeah.
love and I'm confident and attractive.
Hmm.
So also
Yep.
too during the date. So pay attention to your body. Notice how you're feeling physically. Are you tense? So are you relaxed? Your
Yeah.
body language can communicate a lot about how you're feeling. So
Hmm.
just be mindful of that.
Hmm.
Don't overthink it, but just be mindful of your body language
Yeah.
and what you're trying to portray on this date while you're learning about the person that's in front of you.
Yeah, things like crossing your arms can show that you're not as open to the experience as if you were to open your arms up, put your, sit up straight, stuff like
Mhm.
that. It aligns your body. It's you're allowing yourself to breathe and to open up. You're less likely to, be slumped over and, is
And
it?
eye contact,
Yeah, all of that really, really
it
matters.
matters. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then also too, when you are in that moment, to just, again, when you're focused on what your posture is like and everything like that, just be sure that you're still enjoying the present moment and focusing on what your not spouse, but your potential spouse, your dating partner is actually saying. So really listen to your date and not just, that will help you be present in the moment, but don't so much try to think of what you're going to say next, because that's going to create more anxiety than you just genuinely listening, taking it in, and then breathing and responding versus listening to what the person's saying slightly and more so trying to figure out what you're going to say next.
Right. And then also too, don't overtake the conversation and try to be overbearing, I guess. When you're talking and speaking, allow your date to also to have some sort of dialogue. So understand that this date is all about dialogue, and you're both trying to meet and learn each other and
Mhm.
see whether or not you will want to continue going on dates with this person. So don't basically dominate the conversations, but also to look for ways that you can include your date into the dialogue as well.
And remind
Because
me of that rambling you were talking about earlier with the
Mhm.
guy.
Yeah, because he was just talking and talking. So you don't want to, and a lot of that's anxiety. A lot of people don't know or recognize that, but a lot of rambling and just talking and talking about yourself is a form of anxiety. So
Mhm.
recognize that, be mindful of that. Take a deep breath, and then say, well, enough about me. Let's talk about you.
Yeah.
What things do you do? What are your intentions? What do you like to do?
Mhm.
What do you um where do you work? Just ask some questions about them to better get to know them and
Yep.
show that you're interested.
Yep. Yep. That is so true. So those are just some general tips of, how you can mitigate and work through some dating anxiety before and during your date. Another thing, in particular, it's slightly different than, I guess, your usual dating anxiety tips. After this, we're going to go ahead and do our request too, because we did have our request to join. So we're almost done though, if you want to tackle it in.
Okay.
Okay. But
What's a request to join?
the on the live, I didn't want to forget, so I wanted to make sure to say that. I didn't want to forget that somebody did request to join the live, so we will be sure very, very soon. We're almost done. We just wanted to knock through some of these tips so that then hopefully we have tackled on the question. But please, we do certainly encourage you to join the live or join the stream on YouTube, clicking the link that we have. But another one that we did want to go over is called exposure therapy. So I'm not quite sure if you all are familiar, but exposure therapy is a type of like cognitive behavioral therapy where what you're basically doing is kind of like an allergen in a way. You're exposing yourself to the fear that you may have to help you overcome it over time. So this is purposely putting yourselves in the situations that may cause you some fear and working on to help you reduce it over
Yeah.
time.
That reminds me of like jumping out of an airplane or something,
Oh,
or go bungee jumping. A lot of people do that as therapy, to be honest with you.
yeah, it could really, really be helpful. So this could be helpful in particular for somebody with dating anxiety when it comes to like learning to manage your anxiety to be comfortable and more so, social situations. So here's a slight example of how this would work when You can write this down if you would like, but this is kind of like some steps, a little bit different than the breaking down your thought steps, but more so directed towards your fears. So first, identify your fear. What is it that you're afraid of when it comes to dating? Is it something like rejection, or are you afraid of not being good enough? Whatever it is that you are fearful of, write that down and then create kind of an hierarchy of your fears. So what's the number one fear from, rank your fears from least feared to most feared. In particular, put your least feared one maybe at the top or your most feared one at the bottom. So then that way you're being able to go through and get to your least feared fear first as the one that you're going to attack first versus, your most feared first. It could be like something like your smallest fear would be talking to somebody new. So it gives you a little dating anxiety to talk to someone new. So you'll put that as number one, but it gives you real dating anxiety to just go ahead and ask the girl out or to actually go on to this date or anything like that. So just ranking your fears 1 through 5 is the small list to start with would really help. Then once you can start with what's called like your least feared fear, and then you can start to expose yourself to that situation based on your hierarchy. So for example, like we were talking about the one being you're a little nervous about talking to someone new. This could be something like just going into a coffee shop and saying, hey, I'm gonna talk to this person sitting over there. We're not saying ask them out for a date or anything like that, but if you just run across somebody, you're actively choosing to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and talk to someone new just so that I can get over this fear and say, all right, I can do this. I'm okay with talking to someone new. So that will knock off that first one on your list. And then you can move, down your list and gradually increase the difficulties of your exposure. So this is going to require you from, taking your most comfortable, least feared fear and going to your, most difficult, your huge, fear, and really start there as the last one that you're really trying to tackle. So if you start like at the coffee shop as your first one, right, it's a simple conversation, or the grocery store, simple conversation, talking to somebody in line, right? That's your least fear. Then you actually go to the one like going to an actual party with someone that you don't know or talking to someone that you don't know and actually engaging in a conversation that could turn into a potential date or something like that. That would be more, a little more scary for you if that is on your list. But you just continue to go through your exposures as you go through them so that way you're no longer anxious as, the time goes on. So again, it's really going to be personal. You're really going to have to think and figure out what it is that you are in fear of, and then how you can actively get yourself to at least start to get into that situation so that you can start feeling a little less anxious about the whole situation.
Yep.
Yep. So, and go ahead. I guess go ahead. Let me see. Can I pull that back up? Let me see. Hang out. I can't pull that back up, but for the person that did request to join the live, I'm not quite sure who requested. Go ahead and request again, and we'll hit the link this time too, so that you can go ahead and join and we'll talk. Chit chat. Of course, we always love it when it is personal. We do encourage this because then we can make it a little easier to be able to actually give you that direct advice on what could really be helpful for you. But in the meantime, our last tip, you want to go for that?
Yep. So lastly, we also encourage seeking some sort of professional advice or professional assistance from a therapist or a coach. So a good therapist should help you to understand the cause of your anxiety and how it affects your life, and also teach you coping strategies as well. So they can help you to manage your anxiety, such as deep breathing, like we talked about, all the stuff we just discussed, meditation and relaxation techniques, and then also help you to challenge your negative thoughts. It's pretty much the same thing. So this will basically give you some exposure to what therapy would look like in the case that you may need it.
Yes.
So we hope that you we've provided you with information of value and some tips that will help you to cope with and get over your anxieties dealing with dating anxiety.
Yep. Yeah. Because again, it's super common. It's not something that should stop you from dating though. But if it has gotten too, if it goes undressed, then it will put you in a situation where you're not really feeling like dating or doing anything like this. And we get it. It can be very discouraging based off of the conversations that you hear online or like other people that may talk about relationships or anything like that. It can make it feel discouraging, but it's really important that if you can go through the things that we talked about in this video, and I don't know, the person hasn't requested yet, don't be shy, come on, request back. But if maybe we did if
Maybe we
answered the question. Not quite sure, but if we did answer the question, please also let us know that too. But just in general, these things that, here we go. All right, let's see. See how this is gonna come out. Let me see. Let's see if this will pull on up. This is new. All right, y'all, bear with us as
you
we
turn
go
your
through
volume
this.
up.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing? All right.
Peace. All right, can you hear us good? Everybody can hear good? All right, good. What's up?
Okay. So my question is, like, how did y'all make it from where y'all was like that?
That's a good question. So basically, how did we make it from, I guess, from dating to getting to marriage? Well, what we did was we were
in college.
Yeah, we were in college when we first met. And what I did was I got serious about dating and the intention on getting married. You see, and that made all the difference in being selective on who I was spending my time with. And then from there, my wife, she told me that she always wanted to be a wife anyway.
Yeah.
So she always had that intention on marriage and wanting to be a wife. So what we did was
said we're gonna do it, basically.
Right. And we build we picked our strengths.
Yeah.
And so I was already in a career. She had graduated from college.
And I didn't have a career.
Yeah, and she didn't have a career.
And we didn't have, with no help. It was just me and him. We were renting an apartment with a friend at the time.
Right.
And we said, you know what? We're gonna go ahead and do this together as a team. But I think what we mainly recognized was that it was easier to hit our goals as working together as a team. So that's what led us to that conversation of, okay, we want to get a house, right? That was our next step. We want to go ahead and get, do this and get married, get a house and move, further on to his life. So he had actually got me a job working in a warehouse. Right. And where he was at, because again, I was out of college, and then this whole concept of, oh, when you graduate you already got your degree and you're gonna have a job lined up. That's not always the case for everybody. So for me, I did have to go and start working in a warehouse, but what we realized was, okay, we can start building credit and doing that together.
So one thing that we did do was check each other's credit scores. So if we want to buy a house, we know that we need to have good credit.
Yeah.
And what it took was her helping paying my bills. She didn't have any bills of her own. She had a full ride in college.
Yeah.
So I had to, since I was already in the career, she helped pay off a lot of my credit card bills or what have you, and positioned us to the point to where we could actually own a home and start a family.
Yeah. And I do want to make the point that it's important to remember that he stepped up and said, I want to be the sole provider. So I think it's super important that a man, when he decides that he wants a wife and you decide that you want to take on a relationship, don't go, this whole mainstream talk of, 50. I think it's important that the man has in his mind that I want to be the provider, so that then you're able to allow the woman to help you accomplish that. Because if that's not your goal, then it's not going to be, it's not something y'all are going to work towards. And ultimately, the man should want to position himself so that he is able to provide solely for his family. Not saying so that you got to control the situation or anything like that, but it just really helps when it comes to being able to navigate through life in general. If you are yourself ready in a position to take on your family with the help of your woman, of course, if you're up for that.
Right. So,
That's not real.
yeah. So, with that being said, um, are you in college currently?
Yeah.
Nah, I'm 15.
You're 15.
Oh,
Okay.
you're young
You're
boy.
young. You're a young
Oh
man.
goodness, this is a little too early conversation for you.
No, yeah,
Well,
but it's
this
good.
is
It's good
good.
information.
This is. It really
You
is.
see, you have something that I wish I had when I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who's able to give good, sound relationship advice, because I grew up. Me and my wife grew up with none of that.
Yeah. Single
Basically,
family home.
yep,
Yep.
single family home, trying to find your way and see what marriage actually looked like,
Mm-hmm.
and how, and in a healthy way.
Yeah.
So, if you want some advice, you're 15. I would say, do you want to go to college?
Yeah, I'm going to college.
Okay.
You gotta go to college.
Okay. I would say to make sure that you build your career and you save your money. And then when you start working, you work 12 hours. Try to find, if you work an 8-hour job, find a part-time job Monday through Friday. Have a hobby, pick a hobby in which you enjoy on the weekend, and something that gives you character and also discipline, because that'll ultimately shape you and mold you, other than your job and what you're working in. But you want to position yourself by the time that you're in your 30s, or approaching your 30s. Well, you'll have a lot of money saved up. You'll have less debt, and then also too, you're able to pay for things instead of burning your credit up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my advice to you. So you don't want to try to struggle in a relationship, getting married, or being in a relationship where you're moving in with a girlfriend so early in life, like your early
Yeah.
20s.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that.
Mm-mm.
You're only going to cause more, problems for yourself, because young women, especially dating your peers, young women, they want somebody who can provide and protect. What I learned early in my early 20s, I was not a provider. I
Mm-hmm.
had what I thought was money, but it wasn't enough money for the current relationship or any other young girl that I wanted.
Yeah.
Just understand that you'll be well off in your 30s when you're already established well in your career, and then your credit is well established enough to own a home.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Understand that. So you don't
Yeah.
have to do this struggle love thing that me and my wife did, because
Yeah.
we had to buy a house, and then we needed furniture for that house,
Mm-hmm.
and we used up a lot of credit.
Yeah.
So we went back burning up credit.
Yeah, it took a lot. What we call it was a struggle of what we did, and that's kind of like, we're not saying that it's harder. Well, it is hard, but we're not saying that you shouldn't get with your peer. But what we have noticed now that we are on the other side is that things turn out so much better when you plan it. You are putting yourself in a better position to succeed. You're less likely to get hurt. You're less likely to put yourself in risky situations. You've developed what you need to do, and what you need to develop in order to lead for a family, which is super important. And I don't know, do you have your father in your life? Okay, well then that kind of something we were talking about earlier, how a lot of men, and in particular, this is no judgment, again, we didn't have our fathers in our life often either too, but it's often when you don't have that example from a very early age of what it looks like to be a man and take on that provider role, to take on the protector role, to actually lead a family, it can cause some anxiety within the man, and in return it may make him not want to step up to the plate. So then he's more likely to not engage in things that are going to help him to be a better provider, or to actually put himself in a position so that he can lead a family. So it's just super, super important important that you're taking the time to build yourself up and develop what you need to develop as a man, so that then you are in a position to protect yourself and bring a woman onto your program, because that's really what having a wife and a family is all about. You want this woman to be able to help you, but you're not going to know what you need help with if you haven't bothered, doing the work and preparing the place and the role or the position for your wife to take on. You get that?
Yeah, but that's our advice to you, young man. So, if there's any, you have any other questions?
That's all right.
Okay. All right. Well, we wish you luck. We wish you luck. But like I said before, wait on those relationships. Those early relationships.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, be
Yeah.
successful first. Establish yourself. Those women will be there. Trust me.
Yeah.
And then they'll be knocking down doors trying to get to you when you're well established and in your 30s. To be honest with you. So
and you'll have a better pick. Truth be told, you'll have a better pick, because oftentimes what you're going to find is that when you're developing yourself and building yourself up, you're going to attract somebody that is also developing themselves and building themselves up and may not be ready to help you along the path because they're not quite where they need to be as well. So if you can mentally prepare yourself and align yourself so that you're going to attract a woman that you can pick and say, hey, this is a woman that I can build with, then you're going to have much more success. They talk about like divorce rates in particular when it comes to trying to encourage people not to get married. But a lot of that, the reasoning for the divorce rates is because people didn't take the time to do what they needed to do to get themselves ready for marriage. And that's super important. That's something that we wished we had done, because that would have put us in a better, position starting off. But in the end, it's just super important that once you learn better, you go back and you teach other people better. So this is why we're telling you this. Yeah.
Yep. All right. But thank you, young man. You have a good night. All right. Thank you.
So, anybody else want to jump in and chit chat for a bit? We got a little bit of time. That's nice. That was so sweet. I wasn't expecting that.
No, but that was perfect. I mean, that's what this is all about. We're trying to give back with our time and information. Like I told that young man, this is all the stuff I wish I had when I was his age. So I wouldn't be out here making mistakes, things, understanding what risk management is, and as far as growing and developing into a young man. Like him, I didn't have my father. My wife didn't have her father in our lives either. So whereas this, we need this type of information for our community, and this is where you're going to find it. Here with us on the the Blueprint Family Jewels show. So
it's good representation. We really, really need this representation more than ever, because we don't see couples. I think God has actually put it in place that he wanted couples to go out and teach how to also then have a successful relationship. But it's not so often that you would see a couple do this. So that's why we kind of was like, okay, let's fill this niche and really try to help our community with this, because me too. Like that's part of the reason why I started wifeconomics.com, because if I knew all the years that it's spent on me trying to figure out how to take care of a man, what it meant to be a wife, all that other stuff. If I could have a course ready to go, lined up, where I could just sign up and somebody teach me the things I needed to learn to have a good relationship, especially coming from a home where you didn't learn those skills, like proper, healthy dynamics of a man and a woman. When you don't see that, when you don't learn that, it's super hard to even know what that is or how you're going to get into it or anything like that. So that is really why we started all of this. And I'm excited for where it's going to go with this as well. So,
Well, if no one else have any other questions tonight, we really appreciate you all for joining us. Instagram followers, if you all can transition to YouTube as well and subscribe there, like our videos and share those, we really appreciate it.
Helps us build the platform.
Right. And like I said today, thank you all for helping us get over 4,000 subscribers on Instagram. So,
we appreciate it.
We really appreciate it. So until next time, Blueprint
See y'all
family,
tomorrow.
You all have a good night. Happy Independence Day. Shoot some fireworks. Be safe out there.
Yes.
Peace.